fog of the night where secrets seep. We gather the tales that linger in gloom. Hearts are spoke, welcome to your doom.
Welcome, fellow travelers of the cosmos, to another spine-chilling episode of Stargate Cult podcasts. I'm Monyeka.
And I'm Karli.
And I'm LD Pteloma. Together, we're your guides through the shadowy realms of the unknown, where science fiction meets the supernatural.
Tonight, we're diving deep into a world where ancient myths collide with modern technology, a world where the Stargate isn't just a portal to other planets, but a gateway for something far more terrifying.
That's right. We'll explore the chilling stories surrounding the Stargate Cult, a group that believes in harnessing the power of these interdimensional gateways for their own dark purposes.
From haunted locations tied to Stargate lore to terrifying encounters reported by those who dare to tread too close to the mystical portals, we'll uncover secrets that will send shivers down your spine.
So grab your flashlights and prepare for the journey into the eerie unknown. Whether you're a diehard fan of the series or just curious about what lies beyond our reality, this episode promises to be both thrilling and chilling.
And remember, as we unravel these tales of horror and intrigue, keep an open mind because sometimes what you think is fiction might just be a glimpse into something far more sinister.
So sit back, turn off the lights, and join us as we venture into the haunted depths of the Stargate Cult. Are you ready? Let's unlock this portal together. So today we're going back a little bit to is this story true or not? Is it like facts or fictional, non-fictional,
Fact or
whatever?
fiction?
Fact or
Yes.
fiction? Yes. Okay, so this story comes from a young woman, and she says that I mean, again, is this true or false? Anyways, so um, so she said that she had a dream. She went out into her back patio, and she remembered being out there on her back patio, and from there she could see like the fields and everything, kind of like the backyard area. And she had a neighbor, and so she looks at her neighbor, and she's like, "What is that?" And as she looks up, there's this big, small gray spaceship, and she's like, "What is that? Like an alien? Like what is that?" So she's kind of like freaking out a little, right? And so there's some like she goes on to talk about how there's like some she could see some like black crows and everything. Well, next thing you know, she's being pulled into her bedroom, where all of a sudden her roof is being taken off, and there's this huge red spaceship over the top of her ceiling, and she's kind of laying there, and she can feel like this like something's kind of blowing on her face, like suctioning her up, but she's like, no, 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 I rebuke that, I rebuke that. And then wakes up, and then what she finds on her body was, um, that's what the scary thing. It wasn't the dream; it was the after effect. So she found some little spots on her body, like not like a rash, but it was kind of like, I don't have a picture of it, but it was like just like
Little
little red
round.
spots. Yeah, yeah.
Almost like red freckles, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it could have been like, it looked not like boils, but I don't know, somewhere between a chickenpox and a boil.
There we go.
But not harmful. They did not hurt. It was explained
Yeah,
not to have been hurtful.
yeah, exactly. Um, so yeah, and then she went. I guess she went to. I don't know why I'm laughing. It's not funny. So, what happened next when she went to the doctor You remember that, Karli? Did you read that part?
Yes, when she went to the doctor, she found out mysteriously, even though she was not with anybody at that time, she was pregnant. So I don't know if that had anything to do with her subconsciously thinking about it, but found out she was pregnant with no partner.
Which is weird because she said that she wasn't doing the do. You know what I mean? Like she was like the Virgin Mary, if you will. Like she hadn't been having it, but she was 8 months pregnant. How you gonna be 8 months pregnant when you ain't getting the good? You know what I'm saying?
It's like she fell asleep, stepped into a different dimension, then woke up pregnant.
Pregnant. Yeah.
Like she fell asleep for a while. Wow.
No, no explanation.
None.
But the baby was born a healthy, looks like 8 pounds 9 ounces, 19 inches long. Yeah.
No one can
I
explain it.
think, is it true or false? Like, you think
Did
an
we read
alien?
it in the Sun?
Does she have
Remember
an
the
actual birth
magazine?
map?
She have an allergic reaction in her sleep.
I have no clue. What's the mumps for?
So we'll
So
tell
ponder
you
on that, guys. Ponder on whether you guys think that's fact or fiction.
And
with.
y'all better think about that hard too.
So we'll give the answers at the end of the show. At the end of the episode, we'll go into whether it is. So ponder that for a while. But today we're going to be talking about not Johnny Appleseed, but Heaven's Gate, aka Stargate. But it always comes up as Heaven's Gate, and so that is with Marshall
Applewhite Jr.
Applewhite. So we're
Applewhite.
not talking about Johnny Appleseed. We're talking about
I was going to say Apple Bottom Jeans.
That's what I was thinking too, but I was like, no. He was also known as Doe or Do.
yes.
Yes.
His so with as we're talking about the cult, his cult knew him as Doe.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had many names
Seems
apparently, but his cult knew him as Doe. So towards the end of this cult situation, that was who he was going by. He was going by Doe, like John Doe.
Yes. So, okay, so this created a rabbit hole. I know not from the sound of it, it didn't sound like I was the only one in the rabbit hole, because there was so many like different like things, right? So welcome to the rabbit hole. Have a seat.
get a cup of
So,
coffee, get some popcorn.
mm-hmm. So I wanted to say thank you for White Boy for assisting me with this research. You'rethebomb.com. Um, so I wanted to start with the background, as always. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Um, I kind of semi remember the story growing up and seeing pieces of it on the CNN or 2020. This was a pretty popular story, and it is usually highly requested. Um, so, which is great as I'm having nightmares of aliens already. So, thank you, viewers. So, Marshall was born in Texas, of course, in 1931. His father was a minister, and he combined Christian into UFO theology. So it's definitely a little different. He went to the Army from 1954 to 1956, which is where Monyeka discovered that he didn't just volunteer himself, he was drafted. Um, so from there, he finished, and then it says he finished college at ACC. Feel free to add into this. And then if ACC is like Austin Community College,
It was like
if
Austin
you,
Community College, yeah.
yeah. So
Even it
if
was
you're,
back then.
yes. So if you're from around there, then you know. So anyways, this man, he taught music at the University of Alabama. So after teaching there for a while, he returned to Houston, Texas, and served as the chair at the university. I forgot the name of the university. University, bleh. Um, he also taught music there as well, and I thought that was pretty amazing. It was said that he was fired for having a sexual relationship with one of his male students.
Okay, that was
Um,
going good all the way up until that point. Like his life was going good,
oh
Yeah.
and then he
no,
gets fired.
Monica! No, Monica
Oh, I did the
got
deep dive, girl. I did the deep
yeah.
dive. I got the
We'll pause there and let her go into the deep dive because she got the
Yes.
teas.
Okay, so while Mary was going to get his background, I kind of like I was just learning too with her, but in my own study, and I think I just came down of all the good tea. So she's right when she said, he was considered to be from a family of Presbyterian parents. Pastor dad. He was a very bright kid. A lot of people say that he was very happy and wanting to follow the footsteps of his father. And so everybody who knew him when he was a child in the church and of the dad's churches, because like the dad, they say the dad every 3 years made a new church somewhere else. So his dad was opening churches every 3 years, and he was just wanting to follow in his dad's footsteps. He graduated from Corpus Christi High School. He went to the Austin Community College. He was actually lead a cappella too in the college's a cappella group. So he was also known for like singing. And he winds up going to a Presbyterian church that he was supposed to do 3 years for, but in the beginning semester he quits to pursue his dream. And his dream winds up being an opera singer. So that kind of threw me off guard at first because I'm
Yeah.
thinking, look, where he ended and where he began is two different things. So then he gets drafted in 1954 to Salzburg, Australia. He gets out. He winds up in White Sands, New Mexico. I thought that was such a mind-blowing thing for me because New Mexico's known for alienistic things and, the history of the UFOs and Roswell and things like that. To find out that this man actually winded up somewhere in his young life, way before he got into the UFO and technology and all that stuff later, he winds up in White Sands, New Mexico for a little while. And I want to say he was in school. He winds up doing like theater arts, where he was really good at it. And they loved him. They said he was very good. He was always very gloomy. Um, he winds up going to the University of Alabama, where he became a professor of music. I mean, this guy had like, you know, he had a good bringing up. They say he was very gloomy. He winds up, getting into musical theater and then opera. They say he did very like. They say he like. I haven't heard them, but I've heard people say that they've heard his opera singing and that he was good enough to become a professor of music. They always his students described him as very upbeat, laid back, and very easy to talk to. He had beautiful eyes. People always say his eyes were very intriguing and like he was very humble, but they had beautiful eyes and they were captivated by him sometimes. And so now around the time where after, I think if I'm not mistaken, after his college in, I want to say Colorado, he had got married. And then, he goes to the university, he's teaching, he's teaching opera, he's still in theater arts, things like that. He winds up having two kids with his wife, Mark and Lane. That's the daughter and the son's name. And then in 1965, his wife up and leaves him and takes their children. Now, at this time, he's still teaching at St. Thomas. And so in between his opera singing and everything's good, he has kids, he's got a wife, everything's going good for him. In 1965, the wife leaves and takes her kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it was rumored to have heard that from the students that, like Mary said, he was having a relationship with the male student. Now, right here, I took my own opinion and thought maybe that's why he was so cheerful in life. He was hiding, because they explain that he was so happy as a child. But then when you start to see him become an adult, he was wanting to opera sing. He leaves the church teaching that he was going to continue to do to be an opera singer. Then he gets so good at it, he becomes a teacher. And then, all of a sudden people hear his wife left him with the children. And then we find out that it was because that the reason why she left him was because the rumors winded up being true. He was having a sexual relationship with a male student, and his wife found out. And so because she came from a background where they're Presbyterian, they're in the church. She just cut him off,
Yeah.
cut him off. So right around that time, people started to say he was kind of, he had his depression moment. He was kind of sad. They started to, kind of see a little bit of him, like kind of, the depression. They started to see a little bit, nothing too crazy. But then after that, he winds up having a good run for like they say his shows they were he did 10 different, I want to say they were either theater shows or opera, one of the two, where he was singing, dancing, things like that. He had a good 10 shows, everything was good. That like after his wife left him, I guess he took the freedom and ran with it, of being who he was as a homosexual. And then I guess once he felt he was strong enough, he went and told his parents. He went to go admit to his parents who he had become, who he was now, and who he was not scared to tell them he was as a homosexual. And of course, the natural reaction he expected from his father, he got. It was, it was said that his father told him, what sin could I have committed against my family that my son winds up being a homosexual? And he breaks down and is telling his son, all the church things, this is just confusion, this is not who you are. And as him being who he is and being trying to come out to his parents and then getting this type of he would consider backlash. They say that when he told his parents, he was expecting them to like be loving about it and to understanding, and they were trying to teach him because of what they grew up in, And so people who know him say that also took a turn on his mental health, because he was living a life where his wife had just left him. He was becoming his own person, and he openly admitted it to his parents, hoping that they would accept it in love. It was not, of course, he expected his dad to be angry, but it didn't go the way he expected at the end. He was expecting a lash and then maybe some love afterwards. His dad was like, no, we're not accepting that, And so after that, I started to see that people started to see that, his mental health was kind of slowly getting a little changed. So he goes back and he starts, he's, back at school when everything was going on with the wife, and he gets fired. He tells his parents, and then they don't accept it. And then he starts saying that he's going through some things mentally. He starts to explain to people around him that he's having visions, that he's hearing the voice of God. And during these times, at that time, he goes and makes a trip to Galveston, Texas, of course. And I'm assuming he's just taking, what they say is that he took maybe like a small vacay, to Galveston. And he was
From one beach in Texas to the other beach in Texas.
Yeah. So he winds up saying that while he's in Galveston, he has this vision and this voice, the Spirit of God, teaching him about where we all pretty much evolved from. And then he explained it to people around him as like almost like an epiphany about him hearing from God, that while he was in Galveston, he just was sitting by the beach and just kind of heard the Spirit of God telling him how we evolved and how like we're some type of being of extraterrestrials and things like that. And then he starts getting into talking about UFOs. So then when he goes back from his vacation, the people who know him to be his normal, happy, kind of sad self once in a while when he has problems, like they start to see that he's changing. His mind, thoughts, and set of mind are changing. And he starts to get into these studies of UFOs and just all kinds of everything he could pretty much bring from what he was saying was coming from his visions. It was even said that his mother, when he was doing his shows in theater arts and things like that, that he was around famous people every once in a while. And Patrick Swayze, if you guys are a little bit too young, but from Dirty Dancing, the main character, Patrick Swayze, the guy, his mother was one of the people that was around him a lot in his acting career of theater arts and music. And she even explains at times where she noticed where he was changing, like when she knew him from the beginning, when she started acting and singing and dancing with him, and towards the end where he was starting to act different, a little bit more manic, a little bit anxiety, but he was very passionate about what he talked about with these visions and the UFOs and things like that. And
Yes.
I just thought that was so crazy, like that he not only was in New Mexico, he was, intertwined with a little bit of famous people. And around that time, she starts to say that that's when he was like having small mental breaks that people were kind of hush hushing, but he was having like what people around him were calling mental breaks, what he was calling epiphanies. Um, let's see. It was also said that St. Thomas, of course, fired him. They will never say that they fired him because of his homosexuality, but they were considered to be a faith-based university. So what they say happened was that he was having mental issues and that they let him go for medical purposes to be able to get better.
Yes.
Um, what he explained it as was for his homosexuality, but they needed to cover it up. And then let's see, in 1971, his dad passed away. So he was already going through all this stuff mentally, trying to figure it out. Then he has these crazy epiphanies, and then the person who shunned him passes away. the main
Yeah.
the main person he grew up with and expected some type of approval from one day dies. And then when that happened, people who were around him, family members, say that that's kind of what they think broke his mental more. And now in that's in 1971. Think
Yeah.
about the year that he had to go through without his father, because in 1972 he started having a heart issue, and it's said that he went to the hospital for heart blockage. So like blockage in the heart valves or arteries,
Hmm.
and that he was put into the hospital where he almost died, but had what he would call a near-death experience. So we hear about all these people who have near-death experience and they visit the other side or they see something. So he's already what they call in a mental state where he's very very like he's under a lot of pressure. His father just passed away, and then he's dealing with his life, his kids over here, his wife and them aren't talking to him, and then his dad passes away, then boom, he has a heart issue, he almost dies, he has a near-death experience, and this is all within 3 years of each other. And now from his dad's passing to his heart blockage, his sister said that he went to the hospital for the heart blockage, he had a near-death experience, and then he started to say even more wild things. That he had more experience with
Hmm.
being with the other side and things like that. And then the same time where he had the heart blockage issue, there was also people that were in the hospital in the psych ward who were saying he checked himself into the psych ward around the time where the sister said he had the heart blockage. Now it has been proven that he did have a heart issue, and that he did go in for that. But I think around the same time when he was taking care of that, he may have admitted himself to the psych ward there at the same hospital. And the thing that they say is that when they're saying he walked into the hospital, not with the heart issue, there's two different stories. The story is the sister says that he went for the heart. The story from people that were working in the hospital were saying that he walked himself in there after his dad passed away in a year of it almost being, pretty rough for him, having a mental break. He goes to the hospital, checks himself into the mental ward, and so that he can find the cure for his homosexuality.
Yeah.
And so, long behold, up until this point, he's just trying to figure it out, and he meets the nurse that's in the psych ward. She's a 44-year-old nurse who winds up being Bonnie. What's her last name? Bonnie Nettle. And that's how they originally met. So Bonnie Nettle, for you guys who don't know, is was his partner in this occult that they created. So we get to see the part of Marshall, how he grew up, what's going on, and how he came to actually meet Bonnie Nettle. So when I go down these things, I mean, I'm seeing all this stuff, and I'm just like, wow. I mean, that's all I can say is wow. And then
Yes.
when he supposedly admits himself to a psych ward, he just happens to bump into this woman who's been going through something semi-similar, but not too crazy.
Yeah.
Because Bonnie Nettle, what I found out about Bonnie Nettle was that
Oh,
she's
yes.
baptized, right?
Yeah. So I have some stuff on a Bonnie. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
You know,
So
Bonnie.
I'm calling her Miss Bonbon, but her name is Bonnie Nettles. She
Yeah.
was born in 1927 in Texas. She was born into a Baptist family, and she would go on to be an RN. So then she married a businessman named Joseph. They had 4 kids together. The marriage seemed to go pretty nice for a while, all good and dandy until about 1972. It started going downhill, and she believed that the 19th century monk named Brother Francis gave her instructions on what to do in life. She would talk to this monk in her head. In her head. She she would do seances with mediums in order to connect with the spirits. If you're on this channel, hopefully you understand what this is.
Yeah.
It started as a hobby, and then it just kind of consumed her. Her husband was like, "What the hell?" And I wanted to insert "hell nah" meme. Um, I don't know if I can do that yet, but she she would go on to continue to see more in different psychics. Um, that's really not a good idea. They would tell her that she would meet a nice man who was tall with light hair, fair complexion, and like, okay, I got a man out there. Okay, I'm a looking, and we all know. And if you do readings, you know. Um, So yeah, she was just kind of like keeping her eye out for this voluptuous man. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, so she, as her nurse self, went and did a presentation. It said that she did a presentation, but she didn't do a presentation. She went to a presentation, or maybe she did. I don't know if I got skipped somewhere. At Heaven's Gate in Oregon. The flyer would look something like something you would fill out. It was like something that was scientific UFO flyer. She's like, "Oh, how interesting! I got you, boo." Just kidding. At the top of the flyer, it would say UFO, like big wording, you know.
Bold words, yeah.
Yeah, and then with two paragraphs giving some details about it. As we go on, you know, Monica and Karli is going to explain a little bit more. Um, but this is just like the background telling you. See,
Now,
it's weird because it's kind of like a drop off for me
well,
with how they met. Mm-hmm.
well, I'm going to go on with s- when these people would join this cult, they were all made to cut their hair short.
Yeah.
No
Yeah,
sex identifiers, like they weren't male
There was
or
no gender.
female.
Hmm.
There
yeah.
was no gender. There was no sex allowed. That was something you had to abstain from.
Hmm.
So if we look back in his past, we kind of can guess why some of these rules were put in place. I'm just going to throw that out there now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I'm going to go to there was 39 of them at the end, 18 men, 21 women. But remember, when the cops walked into this crime scene, they couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah.
They could not tell the
Yeah.
difference on these people. And they
They
died
were
in
all
three groups. Three groups. And as they died, the next group would clean that group up and they would go. And then it took a couple, like 3 days for these 39 people
Oh,
to basically, I don't want to say drink the Kool Aid because they used applesauce,
Yeah, yeah.
but drink the Kool Aid. A little more about him is emotionally, people said he did change, but I think it was always there. Is just he felt misunderstood,
Yeah.
and this
yeah.
was his best way out in life. But he did take 39 people with him. We got to
That's
remember
what's
that.
really
And these
And
connecting
39
he
out.
people were not just random people. They were actually
no,
really big scholars. Some of them were very, very smart.
well, ufology. It's called ufology. I think it is a mixture of science and religion.
Hmm.
They kind of mixed it together,
Hmm.
and it actually appealed to a lot of people at first.
Hmm.
And they would go to campuses and put these flyers up. We got
Yeah.
to remember that they
They were
wouldn't put it on
recruiting,
just yeah,
yeah,
they were like
colleges. Yeah.
Notre Dame and stuff, like big
Yeah.
campuses. Um, but I just want to say something about like that whole not identifying thing.
Hmm.
I wonder
Hmm.
if that had to do with who he thought he was and who people told him he wasn't.
Hmm.
Psychologically, that would work on anybody. If you think about it back then. Remember, different time.
Mm-hmm.
But they also had it in pudding, applesauce, and washed it down with vodka, is how they ended it.
Vodka. I would do some whiskey.
Vodka. They did vodka. They put plastic bags around their heads
Hmm.
Oh,
to
Yeah, so they were all wearing
yeah.
the same thing as well. They were wearing, was it black and black, black on
Yep.
black, and black Nikes with a white check.
I had
Apparently, they
to.
had the same shoes as well. And like
And
she
it
said,
was
they
called
did in groups.
Yeah, and it was called Heaven's Gateaway Team. So there was
Mhm.
more people in this cult than the people that lost their lives this day.
Mhm.
Well, the
Mhm.
3 days leading up to it.
Yeah.
Um, it was just as you dive deeper into some of these people, you're like, nobody's seen this. Like I question a lot, but D'Angelo, um, some of his flyers and videos, he renamed himself. He kept renaming himself, by the way. He didn't stick with the same name from the get go. And I want to say, if you meet somebody in a psych ward and you're a nurse, you knew better.
Yeah.
You knew
Yeah.
better.
Oh my
You
gosh.
so
Yes.
knew better.
Yes.
Just gonna say that now. I
There's
don't
so
care
many
who
things that
told
come
you.
out of people's mouth that, you're trained to understand that this is just not a reality that they're in and they're making up their own reality.
And this was
And
in the
she's a
90s.
nurse. Yeah, she was trained to understand where she was at.
Yes.
And they got policies out on each other for $1 million for death by aliens. Nobody seen that?
I didn't see
Like,
that one.
yeah, 1 million per person. The policy covered abduction, impregnant, or death by aliens.
Oh my gosh.
Who covered these people? I want to know.
I know.
I want to know. 'Cause,
Well, considering that
wow,
they were a cult, I'm pretty sure they made it look like it was a religious but scientific belief. So somebody had to. I mean, he
somebody
tricked
did.
39 people. I'm sure he could have got an insurance rep for that one.
Yeah, he got an insurance rep because they had $1 million per person.
Oh my
His
god.
new compound was in New Mexico,
Yeah. You see, I
and
find that to be so
weird,
wild.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they
Now,
abruptly left New Mexico in April 1996 because of some legal troubles.
mhm,
Did
mhm.
anybody get into the legal troubles?
I didn't. No, I didn't. But I did get into what he had told them on how it led up to that date.
Okay. Do you want to go over
Apparently,
that one?
yeah, yeah. Apparently, of course, while he's doing the non-gender, there was actually it was actually said too that they weren't allowed to wear tight clothes. They had to wear semi-baggy clothes to where nothing was too slendered of to make somebody feel a certain type of way sexual wise. So along with the crazy cuts that they had, it almost looks like a bowl cut if I can say that's what I thought. And then like you said, there was no gender.
Here we
What
go.
he explained them the reason why it was going to happen on this date was because what they believed was that if they could shed their physical body and get out of it, that there was it was Hell-Bop comet was coming, and they believed that there would be a spaceship behind it that when if they all shedded their physical body from the earth, they called it their earth body, that when they shed their earth body, that after Hell Comet came, the spaceship that would be behind it, they would be able to ascend to. And that's how they were going to live an eternity in their, I don't want to say, I think it would be, he would have said like their um, spiritual, not spiritual, but like the spirit body that's in them. They were wanting to shed their earth body to get out of it, to be able to get to the spaceship that way. So these 39 people had believed that when Hale-Bopp comet was coming, that there would be a spaceship right behind it, and that if they all shedded their physical body to be able to ascend to it, that they would all be there and live eternally. So that's what he was telling them.
And they all had $5.75 in their pocket for
Mhm.
the cost of the ride to the tail of the comet to heaven. A
That's so
$5
crazy.
bill and 3 quarters.
Yeah.
So,
They believe
they said on there, like, I was listening to someone do an interview. She didn't give a lot of details, but she said like they would all have certain jobs like around the house. Like the schedule was so strict. There was no windows. Like there would be three people to a bed.
It was like a
And
locked-in mansion.
like they had to like prove some kind of worth just to get a job outside the house. And the job that they would get, it would just be like waitressing, you know,
Yeah, like a trade
jobs.
job.
And that's how some of them made it out was through that job. Like, um, so I know there was like at least one woman and there was a man. And I read his story. This is Chris Harris. He's at the time that he wrote it, he was 65, but he's probably about 71 now. He lost his girlfriend to the mass murder, well, suicide, sorry. Erica Ernst. So she passed away in 1997, but he says that he was just really tormented by like everything. It's taken a lot for him to like move forward with it. Um, and they did say, and he did say he talked about exactly what Karli said already. The plastic bag was over their heads. They had purple shrouds that had been draped over their bodies, and cash and IDs were found in their pockets as well, like you said. And let's see. Yeah, that's the vodka. It's literally everything you said. So it was just a lot. I think people are still working through it, even to this day.
Yeah, like
Um,
the survivors of it.
yeah, he said like his initial response, okay, they gone and done it, and his thought was, okay, this is the group I was a part of, and they finally pulled the trigger on the decision to leave. So, I mean, I guess it depends on how you look at it. So I was watching the videos. Uh, so right before this happened, they did these videos about what they wanted to say before they left the earth. Like,
Yeah, everybody said their goodbye on a video.
yeah, and it was the most saddest thing because some of their voices were just really shaken. Like one lady described it as, like when you're in a group full of people and you want to say no, but you can't because you're already that far in.
You're knee deep
I
in.
Yeah, but I don't think I could relate. I honestly, I'd be like,
No.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom and then run out with my shoes off. Like I don't like if I'm uncomfortable, I'm gonna leave.
You
But
know what?
they didn't know. They didn't
You
know. They didn't know any
know.
better. It's like they
There was so many
seem.
people that believed it too around them, where it was like, well, is it right or is it wrong? It was one of those things too, you know.
You had you had the scholars, you had parents, you had like stay-at-home moms, you had
You have people from
fathers, you
all
had
around the world in there.
daughters, and yeah, like there was a daughter that did an interview because her mom she was like, I don't know why she couldn't have stayed with us. I'm sorry that we couldn't make her happy.
Well, the brother, you remember Star Trek?
Yes,
Oh yeah,
The
he's
one
really.
brother was in this. He was the third to the last person to die in this.
from the actor from Star Trek.
Star
Her It
Trek,
was her
yeah.
brother, right? It was her little brother. I
Yep.
think is what they said.
I
Yeah,
think, yeah. Nichelle Nichols, best known
yeah,
for her role
in Star
in
Trek.
Star Trek, was her brother. Um, that's just crazy. Like to
Yeah,
think about, like people really did fall deep for this one. Um, one of their slogans, I'm going to say this, it's actually just do it instead of just do it from Nike.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was just do it. I
That would
seen that.
probably be
I'm
why they
like,
wore the Nikes. I would assume.
I'm thinking so too. But I was like, ain't that a
Yeah, now
what
Doe
the
was
heck?
that was his nickname. It was
Doe.
T and Doe. So
Yeah.
Nettle, Bonnie Nettle was to be T, and he was considered to be Doe. Nobody there had an actual name. You know, they had their own specific name that was appointed to them, and them two were considered to be T and Doe.
I
You know what
just
I
Yeah.
thought?
Hmm.
I just want to throw this out there because you know how we talked about how the nurse, which was Nettle, knows the right from wrong. I would
Hmm.
assume that he's teaching everybody, and so is she. They're gonna leave, and they're gonna leave this earth body is what they call. Then why would they need tennis shoes? They all specifically bought the same tennis shoes for this event. Now, yeah, they had their money in their pocket ready to have it, everything. But if they knew that they were gonna leave their physical body to transcend to that spaceship, why? I would think that somebody who had a nursing degree would understand this is the ding 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 ding, like you don't need shoes to leave out of a body, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't see how nobody caught that, but I guess when you're so caught up
Maybe
in
they were trying to run. Maybe it was like a spiritual thing. Like they're like
running with
that way
shoes,
we'll be
don't take
ready
off with
with our
shoes,
shoes and our. You got to go. I mean, they thought that
that
they
would
were
have
going
been
to have to
for
pay
like
for the
our life.
fare for Pete's sake.
I have
You
part of
know?
the 911 call
Yeah,
Oh,
from
really?
D'Angelo. Sorry, D'Angelo was not the other guy's nickname. I was wrong on that one. I want to correct that. D'Angelo was a player in this. He
hmm.
called the 911 a couple days later. Caller says, yes, I need to report an anonymous tip. Who do I talk to? Sheriff. Okay, this is regarding what? D'Angelo. This is regarding a mass suicide. I can give you the address. San Diego 911 call March 26, 1997 at 3:15 p.m. A couple days after it happened. So there were still members alive after this happened, and D'Angelo was one of them.
Yeah.
So they didn't, not all of them took the
The
spaceship.
suicide, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a
Um,
choice.
yes. But 39 did.
Yeah.
39.
You know, they
Like,
stopped taking so when they started recruiting in 1976, I read and saw this that they actually stopped taking people in too. So like out of the 39 people, how many more people were left? Because I just it didn't say specifically how many people were a member, like there's not a total number that I could find. But I did find that in 1976 he stopped recruiting and stopped allowing people to get in. Like he only wanted a certain number of people. He wanted people who understood what he was believing, and he was like picking and choosing who he wanted. But it's
Mhm.
1976. It was like
Just
stamped
like,
there. He stopped taking people. So that means there was still people wanting to join.
knowing about this mass suicide
Yeah.
coming up, they knew about the comet coming. They knew
hmm
ahead of time. He left plenty of notes, plenty of videos, goodbye videos. He left people in charge to, call 911, let the cops know where the bodies are, please. He also set it up that each, like we talked about, three
He,
sets. So,
yeah.
first set, rearrange
He
the
actually took out
bodies.
insurance on them too. So like,
Yeah, $1 million per
yeah,
person. I wonder how that worked. I'm just saying, sorry.
yeah.
But I don't think they got paid out because they didn't die from aliens.
Aliens. Yeah. There's no
It
proof of
was
the aliens coming for
suicide.
them.
No, it was a suicide, and
Yeah,
most
it was. It's, yeah, I wrote it, the
policies.
suicide, a mass suicide.
Solar Temple was Order of the Solar Temple was also their name too. They had a couple different names for recruitments.
Mm-hmm.
No, sorry, Solar Temple is another group with similar beliefs but didn't do a mass suicide. So there was other groups out there with this UFOology.
Yeah.
They just didn't take it as step as he did.
yeah.
They
And,
didn't.
coming from a religious background for me, like I grew up Catholic and then I, studied every religion and all kinds of other stuff. And, I went into spirituality, all those things. I could see how somebody would confuse it because sometimes you meet people who will tell you in church, sometimes science in medical problems when people are getting sick and cancer, sometimes science doesn't meet God and there's no explanation for how they got better. This is what you learn about. And I think about it because I'm like, sometimes there's things that are unexplainable with science, and I can see how somebody could tweak that to confuse people.
Yeah, because it was Christian, Mellon, I can't even say that, with New Age and UFOlogy all combined into one.
Yeah, and he
But
came from Presbyterian, and they say that his dad was very well known to be very um, understanding in his teaching, but also behind closed door, very strict. So, like in his past, when they said that his childhood was happy, but at home people explained his dad to be very authoritative, and so that kind of gets me into how when he had his own occult, why he kept them indoors so much because that's what
well,
he was taught as a child.
there is an older book. It's called Chariots of the Gods.
Hmm.
It's an ancient adaptation of ancient astronauts, they're called, from back in the day, because we do have cave dwellings with astronaut
Hmm.
drawings
Hmm.
and stuff
Hmm.
like that, UFOs. It goes over all of that, but you can maybe reading that will touch light on how he got to these people too.
Yeah.
How he got into their mind systems to take somebody, especially a Christian who don't believe in suicide, they believe
Hmm.
that's a stopper for getting into heaven. He
Hmm.
twisted that in a way to get them to believe suicide was the only way to get into heaven. It's gate.
Hmm.
So you got to
Yes.
think about that. How did he do that? How
Yeah.
did he warp that?
Hmm.
Like
That was
I,
finesse. I'm not even gonna lie. I feel like that was like the perfect word, finessed. He finessed that one.
yeah, because
To
that's
create a
just
mass
blows
suicide
my
and to make
mind.
them believe that they're going to heaven via.
And a religion that don't believe in it.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was kicking my butt. Like I'm like, how did he? How and how did this trained nurse in a psych ward, not stop any of this?
Yeah.
How
It
did
said too
she go
that
into
she.
delusional?
Yeah, it said too that she thought she was clairvoyant, and like
Yeah.
that's how she
That
kind of wound
she,
up hearing the monk and all that stuff. But she had always believed that she was clairvoyant.
She
So
definitely
like,
shouldn't have been working in a psych ward then.
yeah,
Let's be honest on that one.
yeah.
She died of cancer in 1985. She was not part of that suicide.
You see,
Who was that? Who was a part of it?
Nettles, Bonnie.
the partner,
Oh,
yeah, the
Yeah,
girl,
she died. Yeah,
the
she died
nurse,
of
she wasn't
cancer.
even a part of the suicide.
Nope.
wow.
And Nettles was chosen by the next level to be a messenger on Earth after her death. That's what he told everybody. Because remember, he told people they couldn't die until they did this.
Hmm.
Then when she died, he had to come up with the excuse why she died from cancer. It reversed to include leaving a consciousness from the body as the equivalent to leaving the Earth in a spacecraft. Like, he really was good.
What
Like,
year did she die? They said. What year was that?
oh, sorry. 1985. She
85.
died of
Okay.
cancer.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's any interviews from her right before or right as she's getting sick.
The Tila was a physical place. They're saying about sexuality, individuality, jobs, money, possessions, gender roles. That is, Tila was a physical place. Like, that didn't have a place in this world, they were saying. And they used that as the example. So they pulled from other people's teachings to get these people to stay. Like, wow. I'm sorry, it's just wow.
Did we ever figure out what they put in the applesauce? From what I
Uh,
read, it just said opioids, but I was trying to figure out what exactly they put in it.
I think it was an opioid or something to put them to sleep because they use the bags to
The
actually
bags,
pass away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, to suffocate them. Yeah.
Yeah.
As
So it
the
wasn't.
way they explain it is like they took the applesauce, they downed it with vodka, they laid down, they put the bag over their head. So as they were slowly starting to like that, they were
Yes.
suffocated, and that's how they died. But they weren't going to actual feel the suffocation because they were already down from the downer. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because an
Yeah.
opiate stops your breathing sometimes in
Hmm.
the first place. It
Yeah,
slows down your breath. It slows down your breathing. That's what an
the
OD
heart, it slows
is.
the heart down.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they did it in a way, and it was at least I don't think it was any kids involved in this. That was the plus
No.
side.
Yeah,
This wasn't a Jim
these
Jones
were people who
situation.
made choices, knew what they were doing, were determined about what they
Yes.
did, and made sure they did it.
Yes.
And they made sure they had clean slates as they did it. Made sure
Yeah,
their loved ones got letters, made sure they knew what they were doing.
they were very thoughtful
So
about this process.
they were, and I'm just thankful no
That's
children
how
were
they did
involved. It was just adults.
it. Yeah, I'm sure they were mothers, brothers, all those things, but I'm just grateful, like you said too, that we didn't see children.
Yes, no
There's
children.
some mass suicides where it was everybody. Yeah.
Yes, like Jim Jones.
Hmm.
Um, and the difference between the Jones massacre and this one, Jones literally shot the people that didn't want to drink it. This
Yeah.
one let
Yeah.
him choose it.
Let them make the choice.
That's why not all the members chose it.
Hmm.
So this one gave you a choice. Jim Jones did not. You got to
Yeah.
remember the two.
Hmm.
These people did take their own lives,
Yeah.
as sad as it might be.
Willingly.
Yeah.
That's just weird. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine.
Mm-mm.
But like they were told, right here. Here's some of the things on his exit plan. By the way, here's
Oh,
number 4.
That's
I'm
what
gonna
they
guess need
consider
number
the
4.
exit.
That's what, yeah. Willful exit from the body is a dignified manner. Near the end, Applewhite had a revelation that they might have to abandon their human bodies and achieve the next level as Jesus had done. This occurred when 39 members died by suicide and graduated to the next level.
Mhm.
These were his own words.
Yeah.
So he planned
Kind of
this
like
out from,
graduation. Yeah.
yep,
yeah.
graduating souls. They were actually also like, I don't know, like this is different than Ruby Ridge. This is so different than Jim Jones. This is a different cult altogether.
Yeah. I find that's why I think I find it very interesting that we read up on all of them, because everybody had their own way and
Yeah.
everything was done so precisely. And sometimes, like you said, sometimes people had the choice and sometimes people didn't. So like, is that a sign? Is that a sign of mercy or compassion? You know what I'm saying? Like, Jim Jones was like, "Yo, You drinking or you going anyways, you know?
Yeah, see,
Yes,
I
exactly.
I'm glad. I'm not glad this happened, but I'm glad he gave them a choice.
Yeah.
Unlike some of the other ones who their
Yeah.
leaders were so far gone they didn't give them a choice. It
Yeah.
was like, oh, the government's gonna, come
Yeah. Yeah.
us off, so we have to do this. You have no
Hmm.
choice. He didn't do that. He said this is different. This is graduating your
Yeah.
soul. This
You're
is
going to heaven. Yeah.
he didn't use
Yeah.
the government as a scapegoat.
Hmm.
He used a religion as a scapegoat, but that's about it. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like this is just different.
It's very, it was, it is a highly requested thing. Like, it, there's just so many different opinions on
Aspects.
it. Yeah, and it was like when I was looking up information, I get like two different stories, and I'm like, oh my
Yep.
gosh, pick one.
That's why it's best to listen to the people that have been there, look at their interviews, watch the final tapes.
People
You
that were
can
very
watch the
close to them.
tapes,
Yeah. The tapes are
and
available to see them. Yeah.
yep, you can watch them. It's better when you're doing your research on this stuff to look at the people that went through it and
Yeah.
listen to
Yes.
them. Like a lot of them will tell you the truth. Like we
Mhm.
didn't have a sexual identity, and this is why. And it's like
Yeah.
I kind of believe them over a psychologist in an office who wasn't there.
It's
Yeah.
just
Exactly. You want people who are like first encounters of it.
it's
Yes.
just when you do the readings and stuff, like you see people that come from different backgrounds and like different mental stabilities, I guess. And so I could see this happening, like people
That's why
being
we got to
like,
be careful
be
of what
very,
we
very
do
careful.
and
What you
mindful.
believe, that shows too, like how somebody can have strong beliefs and think that death is the way out. Like,
That's what I mean. When you're doing a reading, listen to the person. If they strike you as somebody with like something you shouldn't be doing, don't do it. If you
Yes.
believe they're going to use this to harm themselves or somebody else, don't do the reading.
yeah,
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
be
for sure.
mindful. Be very
Exactly.
mindful. Because look what can
Exactly.
happen.
Yeah.
She
I
thought the
don't.
gods put this guy in her path.
Yeah.
I was like,
And he was
I
a
don't think he was mentally stable to begin with,
No.
but because
And
she
there
had
were
a whole,
signs.
she had a whole ass husband and some kids. Like,
and a degree. She had a whole degree in nursing where
so
they teach
she,
her about mental health.
That's what I mean.
so
But, and nobody's seen this. Like, nobody red flagged this. Like,
Yeah.
I just watch
well,
who you give
maybe
readings to.
like on some sick and twisted level, okay, maybe she felt like this. Maybe she had like her mental breakdown. Sorry, I had it in my
I
head
think,
and it was gone.
well,
Maybe
she had,
she felt like she needed, this was her destiny. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
maybe this is how the devil got her, pretty
but
much.
remember,
And
she was part of it before the suicides. She was part of it before that type of talk.
well,
So
that's
she
what I'm
really
saying.
was in it prior to the bad stuff.
She was in it prior to the bad stuff, but I kind of wonder if she had it in her head that this was her calling. Like, everything was
Yeah.
supposed to go as it
But
should.
she
And
she described it as it being a prophecy.
Yeah.
Like her word
yeah.
was prophecy. That her meeting him was something that she had heard prophesied to her.
And remember, somebody told her, you will meet this man. He will
Yeah.
change your life.
So,
It's really
well, was it
important.
And he ordered
wrong?
the company to start for it.
No,
That
he
wrong to
did.
say,
He
hey,
made
you
her,
are going to meet this person, they're going to change your life, because that's
he
exactly
made her
what happened.
infamous. He made her
Yeah.
infamous.
Yeah.
Her name will always be tethered to this group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Whether she wanted to be called tea or nettle, but
I
I
think there
don't
was
know.
just some things left out, like
I
this
do
was
too.
not a good
I do too.
idea,
Because they
and
you look up
stay away
nettle,
from this guy.
And was she just sick? Well, we got to remember too, this was 70s, 80s,
mm-hmm.
when she was in it, not the 90s when it all happened. But maybe she was just looking for some excitement and just got sucked into something she shouldn't have. Maybe she got
Yeah.
sick of the home life, the kids, the husband, the job, and was
The
looking for
church.
excitement, the church. And
Yeah,
Oh
maybe
because she
yeah.
she grew
we
up
don't know.
Baptist. She
But
was
then she
given
went into
readings.
the group and then had the routine again, all over again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Like,
I thought about it too.
it
I think at
frustrates
this
me.
point.
I'm sorry.
No, it's
So
okay.
I know,
just
it
frustrates
frustrates
me
as a woman.
because it could have been anybody.
That's
It
what
could
I
have been
mean. It could have been us. I know I'm naive sometimes. I would have been like, okay, sir, I'm naive.
I think
So
too, like for her, I think it was a bad choice in her personal decision to be a nurse and know that you're clairvoyant and to go into a psych ward like that. I mean, all of us know we are all spiritual, understanding women here.
yes,
Even though we came from different backgrounds, we understand the spiritual realm, right?
yeah.
So I'm thinking, if I'm a nurse and I know I can hear things clairvoyantly, I'm not going to that psych ward to work daily 24/7. You know what
I
I'm
know I
saying? Like,
wouldn't.
I feel like that was
Well,
a personal
I'm
bad
sure
choice for
her
her too. But
husband.
again, nurses were needed, so and sometimes
Well,
you get paid.
her husband was already like red flag. Like this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Like,
Well,
what
as
are
soon
you
as she started
doing?
that stuff, that's when their problems had in the marriage. That's when
Yeah.
the marriage started going bad. Yeah,
He was like, what?
I
Like,
don't
what
like
is
it.
wrong
This is
with
not
you?
what
You
we
need to
do.
like.
but
And
we also don't know if she was having any kind of postpartum depression
Yeah, because
way
nurses
after the
have a
kid.
lot of
We don't
pressure, and
know.
they're known to have like a lot of
yeah.
um, closed door problems. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Yes. And we don't know what
Exactly.
he went through either. So we're not judging on here.
No,
None
of
of
course.
us are by no means. We're just trying to we're trying to
Give you guys
understand
the
this.
info, yeah, and
Yeah, we're
just kind
trying
of
to understand it.
yeah,
We're
Yes.
all human
Exactly.
here. We just want to understand why people
Hmm.
do what they do. And that's
Exactly.
why we do our channel.
yeah,
We'll
for
get
sure.
down
Exactly.
to the darkest, intimate places of people's heads and hearts
So
Yeah,
and souls.
yeah. So speaking of the channels, as you'll know, this will come on next week. So we always pre-record a week before. Um, so we're not sure exactly what's happening with TikTok. So we're probably gonna just remove all of our videos from there, and then we'll keep it on YouTube until we kind of figure out the next
figure out what's going
steps.
on there.
Yeah, so I don't know if
Well,
we're gonna have an extra, but YouTube is gonna be our main. YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, all of that. We're working to figure out how to do Apple Music. If I get one more request for Apple Music, I'm gonna lose it.
So y'all pray for us.
I
I'm
have
trying.
Apple Music and I can't even use it. So
Yeah,
I don't know how to.
just know we're working on
So
it, guys. We're
we're
working.
We're
working on it, okay?
we're doing the best we can.
Yes.
We're not
You
young
um,
chickens
got any pointers
anymore.
to say?
yes, exactly. So we're gonna. Okay, so let's
Oh wait,
see.
So
fact or
we have fact
fiction.
or fiction. We got to finish that real quick.
Oh yeah, fact
So
or
let's go ahead.
fiction.
So
So in
as
the
my
beginning of
Roomba's going
the
off.
yeah, in the beginning of our talk today, Miss LD gave us a fact or fiction story.
Mhm.
So
The
I
alien
say, let us
with the
know.
spots.
Yes,
Okay,
And
so
pregnancy.
and pregnancy. I know, right? It's like
okay, so it started off like I had a dream once, and so most of it, half of it's true, and after the she woke up like with spot like everything after that is false.
After somebody
Okay.
threw somebody under the bus,
so
it's
it was
false.
so it was
I'm just
partial
kidding.
half and half. Okay, guys.
I was like, as soon as Harley said,
I
as
didn't
soon
know.
as she was like,
I
and she went to the doctor and she was pregnant. I'm like, this bitch.
I didn't know what else to say. I'm like, did
I
she have
know
mumps?
y'all were so quiet. I'm like, okay, come on, guys, come
I was
on.
gonna say
I was
chlamydia,
listening.
but I
I
was
was
like,
listening.
too far, too far.
I know. You should have seen me and Monica's face when you said that. We're like, she said
Okay, I was
what?
My
thinking,
thought
like,
was, wait, is this serious? Like, I was like, hold on, wait, did I miss something?
I was thinking, okay, it's either pregnancy, a probe up the butt that was left, a chip, or chlamydia or something from the aliens. I didn't know what to say. I was like,
Oh my
Okay,
god.
so
I'm
wait,
gonna go
Mary,
with
tell them what
pregnancy.
part was
Okay,
fact.
so the dream was okay. So I had a dream.
Mhm.
What was real is I was outside. I was looking at the field in the backyard. I saw my neighbor, and I was waving to the neighbor. And then we saw this like gray alien, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, is that a spaceship?" You know. And then I was all of a sudden on the bed, and then I felt this like it was suction. I'm like,
Suctioning her upward.
Yeah.
this is why we're called the harlots. So no, like it was like so real. It was like this wind. was all over like my face trying to pull me in. But I rebuked it like 100 times, and the spaceship was red. Did I mention that?
But when you woke up, did you have the rash?
No.
Okay, there it is.
Well,
That's
good.
where it stopped, guys. She didn't have the rash, and she did not get pregnant.
I
Nope.
woke up and I was like, I'm never sleeping again. That's what I should let off to is she had insomnia. And she started-
Something it was on the spot. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, next time we're gonna plan it a little bit better so y'all have an idea. But we definitely okay. So
Thank you.
by the time you get this, our next episode, we are debating on doing festivals of DIONYSUS. And then we'll do the conspiracy. Yes. And then we'll do Carol Baskin conspiracy theories on our live.
I can't wait for that one.
I know. I'm actually really excited. So I hope y'all continue to watch and watch us grow and share, like, subscribe.
Yeah.
And if you have any complaints about the background music, please just let us know because sometimes I'm wondering if it's too loud or too loud.
And remember, be kind, behave to each other.
Okay.
Yes, and be understanding.
Be nice, Scott. Okay. But blessed be, guys. Have a blessed be day.
All right. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.